with their lights on. But the Ford GTs were still in the lead. And here they come for the finish.
In 1966, Ford Motor Company took on its biggest challenge yet. The automaker's racing team set out to win the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the world's most prestigious car race. The historical events leading up to this race are the focus of the new movie Ford vs. Ferrari, starring Matt Damon and Christian Bale. Although the film is packed with drama, action, and a few emotional moments, here is the true story of how Ford made racing history. The story actually begins 3 years earlier, in 1963, when Ford was struggling to compete with General Motors, both in sales and on the track. Henry Ford II arranged a deal to purchase Ferrari, which at the time had the most successful racing team. His goal was to race alongside the iconic Italian brand while expanding Ford's global influence. However, when the deal fell through, Mr. Ford received a stinging message from the Italian brand. Enzo Ferrari said that Ford makes ugly little cars in ugly factories. This sparked one of the most legendary rivalries in motorsports history. Ford decided there was only one real way to get back at Ferrari: on the racetrack. Ford chose the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the most prestigious endurance race in the world, which carried more international weight than any other motorsport competition. The Detroit automaker made a multi-million-dollar investment in its Le Mans program. However, Ford's 1964 season was a disappointment, as not a single Ford car managed to finish a race, including at Le Mans. Increasingly frustrated, Ford turned to Carroll Shelby, the owner of Shelby American and a former Le Mans winner. Portrayed in the film by Matt Damon,
"My name's Carroll Shelby, and performance is my business."
Shelby was handed Ford's GT40 race car, which had been developed with help from racing company Lola Cars. After repeated failures, Ford gave Shelby one clear goal: to win. A key player in developing the GT was Shelby team member Ken Miles, played by Christian Bale in the film. Miles, an English driver and mechanical engineer, had already played a significant role in the success of Shelby's AC Cobra race cars. He worked with the Shelby team to solve many of the GT's problems, conducting extensive testing. However, Ford decided to switch the car's engine at the last minute before the 1965 24 Hours of Le Mans, and none of the GT40s finished the race. Ferrari ended up taking their 5th consecutive victory. As Ford's determination to defeat Ferrari grew, so did Shelby's dedication to the GT project. The team, along with Miles, kept improving the car, using some very rudimentary methods to increase horsepower. In one particularly memorable scene from the film, the team used Scotch tape and cotton yarn on the car to evaluate airflow while it was moving. They discovered issues with the air ducting, and a few simple changes added 76 horsepower. They also equipped the car with lighter magnesium wheels, better tires for more grip, and improved brakes. As the 1966 racing season began, Ford's newly enhanced GT40 won both the 24 Hours of Daytona and the 12 Hours of Sebring, each time with Miles behind the wheel. Suddenly, the upcoming Le Mans had greater significance, not just as a victory over Ferrari, but also as an opportunity for Miles to achieve the Triple Crown, a feat never before accomplished in racing. Ford entered 8 cars into the 1966 Le Mans race, with 3 of them managed by Carroll Shelby. One was driven by Ken Miles and New Zealander Denny Hume. Another team consisted of American drivers Dan Gurney and Jerry Grant. The third car was driven by New Zealanders Bruce McLaren and Chris Amon. Meanwhile, Ferrari entered only 2 cars, confident of a 6th straight win after dominating the last 5 races. However, in a rather anticlimactic turn, both Ferraris failed to finish, dropping out by lap 227. By the halfway point, it was clear a Ford would win, but the finish would make the 1966 Le Mans one of the most controversial endings in racing history. As the final lap approached, 3 Ford cars were in the lead, with the front 2 driven by Miles' team, followed by McLaren and Amon. Miles had been setting record-breaking lap times, and the Triple Crown was within his grasp. However, Ford's public relations team had other ideas, wanting a literal photo finish. They asked Miles to slow down so he could finish side by side with McLaren for a picture that would truly emphasize Ford's dominance. After briefly objecting, Miles agreed, thinking it would be a shared victory for the team. But this wasn't the case. When Miles and McLaren crossed the line together, the organizers decided that the car that had covered the most distance was the winner. Technically, McLaren and Amon's GT40 had started 8 meters behind Miles's car, which meant they were declared the winners. Despite being the fastest driver, Miles lost. This controversial decision left him robbed of what could have been a historic triumph. While Miles was devastated by the outcome, Ford celebrated their victory for American motorsports and for the huge financial payoff. Despite his disappointment, Miles didn't stay away from the track, beginning work on Ford's new J car for the 1967 season. However, just a month after Le Mans, while testing the car, Miles died in a tragic crash. Thanks to the contributions of Miles and Shelby, Ford went on to win in 1967, 1968, and 1969, establishing itself as a powerhouse in motorsports. Miles, however, remained relatively unknown outside of the racing community. Thankfully, his story has now been brought to the public eye with Ford versus Ferrari. Though the film is as much about tragedy as it is about triumph, it showcases the achievements of 2 men, one largely unknown, who helped change the history of American racing.